Wir tragen dich in unserem Herzen. Du bist die Treue. Du bist die Liebe. Unser Glaube.
This time I'd like to make a video about Misandry, the so-called hatred of men, and practically that it is normal in our society. Misandry, the hatred of men. Man-Woman Myth is a channel specializing in misandry videos.
I don't expect most people to have heard the word misandry. Your spell checker won't recognise it. The word misogyny, on the other hand, is very well known. Misandry does exist, however, and is there to be seen in media output, in the workplace, in education, in fact, in most areas of life in the Western world. Misandry tells us that men do very bad things, and they do them all the time. They rape women, they molest children, they beat their wives, they sexually harass their colleagues, they're deadbeat dads, they start wars, they can't communicate, they're controlling, they smell, they're hairy, and they don't wash. When I'm at the cash point, I'm looking over my shoulder for men, not women. But the fact remains that the bad that men do pales in comparison with the greatness of men. When you look at the role of men at all levels of society, from leaders to street cleaners, men are fantastic examples of humanity. In my opinion, misandry exists as a direct product of feminism. The hatred of men serves a purpose for government, charities, and large-scale businesses. The endless prevalence of anti-male propaganda serves a dual purpose. It's done primarily to turn women against men, but it's also about turning men against themselves and getting men to think the worst of themselves.
This was a short definition, practically an introduction to what misandry actually is, the so-called hatred of men. And now we'll analyze a couple of programs that ran in the 90s, or even a few years ago, or even modern times. Well, the programmation of the people through these series and movies. If you Google domestic violence against men, you will find out actually that over 40% of all domestic violence victims are male, and these are the people that actually report it. This is from TheGuardian.com, a real newspaper, and it is incredible. And here it is from the Time magazine. It is trivialized and laughed about. Married with Children was a series that aired in 1987. And I believe anybody that grew up in the 90s knew of this series. It portrays a white American below middle class family. I watched it and I actually enjoyed it and laughed with it. But it portrays practically a family where the husband is a shoe salesman and gets minimum wage, and is totally depressed and is a loser actually because he did not make it in life, and he is disgusted from his wife Peggy. At the same time they portray their daughter, a hot sexy young teenager, to provoke practically the people to view it, or the men to view it. There is a severe programming of a poor loser father figure is married with children. The association here is if you're married and have children, that you're a loser. That is the programming actually. You have to be successful, single, and dating beautiful call girls or beautiful women to actually make it. So the program is your brain associates family and children as being a loser actually. That's its brain association here. Married with Children, the main character of the family, well, was a white American male. The Simpsons is another sitcom that is loved by the entire world. But if you analyze it from a perspective, practically a racialist perspective as an example, you see again, or from a male perspective, you see a father figure, or Homer Simpson, a fat idiot, a fat white American idiot that always gets into trouble and always does the wildest pranks. At the same time, Bart Simpson, this figure here, is a loser at school, does not study at all for school, and he is eventually portrayed as some loser grown-up person in some episodes where he does incredible down-ridden jobs, whereas Lisa Simpson in one episode is portrayed as a future president of the United States. Also, Marge Simpson is also portrayed as very intelligent and very smart. Lisa Simpson is the smartest of her class and always comes with very intelligent insights and conversations, whereas Bart always comes into trouble with all types of authority at school, at home, and everywhere. And Homer Simpson has not studied, or is a total idiot, actually, portraying practically again a white American male. That's what he depicts, a fat American male, a white male, as a loser. Dumb and Dumber is a movie actually depicting two white males that are below average IQ or really dumb. That is practically again directed towards whites and misandry at the same time. Just imagine two black guys or two Asian guys, and then with the title over it, Dumb and Dumber. How would the Afro-American community or even the Asian community react? White male bashing has become a normality in society.
Hi y'all. Hey allihopa. Hey guys. We're going on a national bikini tour, and we're looking for 2 oil boys who can grease us up before each competition.
You are in luck. There's a town about 3 miles that way. I'm sure you'll find a couple guys there.
Okay, thanks. Bye. Hey doll.
Do you realize what you've done? Hey! Lloyd! Lloyd! You'll have to excuse my friend. He's a little slow. The town is back that way.
Harold and Kumar, White Castle, is a good example of, again, anti-white male movie productions from Hollywood. It depicts practically an Asian and a Middle Eastern Arabic, lightly tanned or Indian guy going through America and meeting practically crazy whites or even crazy blacks. And they depict practically whites in this movie as really negative. This guy, as an example, appears in the movie Harold and Kumar White Castle, and he says, "You can fuck my white girlfriend," and he's depicted as a hideous creature. You tend to laugh with these types of movies, but fact is, white men in these movies are demonized practically to be disgusting and evil, and at the same time, non-white immigrants dream of white women. If you look at the movie, it is a clear insult to anybody who is racially aware and white. It is misandry intertwined with anti-white hatred.
It's gonna take me a while to fix up the car there, so boys like to go on inside, get yourself something to drink, wash up, fuck my wife, watch TV, anything you want. Me, Casa? Let me see, Casa. Just don't do anything the good Lord wouldn't do.
Are you boys gonna fuck me now or what?
Rock, paper, scissors, see who goes first. Ready? Rock, paper.
Wait a second. What about freak show, huh?
What? You assume we don't know how to have a good time?
I just...
And Me, Myself, and Irene, where the main actor is Jim Carrey, it portrays a movie where again a dumb white police officer gets fired or gets suspended, and his wife cheats on him with a black man or a black dwarf, and the wife also gets black children or mulattoes in the relationship, and he loses his mind in the process and then raises also the 3 mulatto children. At the same time, these movies or series depict a really negative view of the white male. In this movie, as an example, here, he raises 3 these are his first sons. His white wife cheated on him with a dwarf, Afro-American dwarf, and it is actually making fun of white people at the same time, and really making the white people and white males actually dumb. It is misandry, misandry, male hating, male bashing, combined with an anti-white sentiment or insult. Anti-white racism, actually it is anti-white racism. We checked out now The Simpsons, where again a father figure is displayed as really stupid and dumb, and the son Bart Simpson not having a future and being portrayed as the always the troublemaker of the entire society, and the ultra smart little daughter Lisa Simpson that later becomes president of the United States. That is misandry, anti-white misandry actually. Married with Children is another example of incredibly amounts of programming of the population to believe that married men with a white wife and children, white men who are married and have children, who father children, are considered losers. I enjoyed watching the series, I admit, but if you analyze it from a programming standpoint and what it your brain actually works associatively, it associates knowledge what it already has. And if you look at these series, they program you, and you associate then a married family practically subconsciously as a fate of being a loser. And there are countless movies depicting practically misandry, like Jamal and Kumar, or whatever that with White Castle, what I showed you. It's not, in the entire movie is 2 guys, an Asian guy and some Indian or a Middle Eastern guy, go through about some American city and always encounter these white folks who are crazy or violent or criminal or deranged and even mocking Christianity at the same time. Now we will look at the following a couple of videos that also portray the masculinization of women, where practically this is the feminist movement. Women are portrayed as men. In Battlestar Galactica, there is a female pilot, Starbuck, who is the best pilot in the entire series. She's a woman and a soldier at the same time, portraying practically a woman in a male role, actually, in society, and at the same time telling the men that women are better, even at war, than the men in society. If you watch the movie G.I. Jane, it portrays practically a brutal, realistic movie. Well, not realistic in the sense that a woman could actually endure the same program that a male can endure. She simply lacks the physical power to fight in close combat in a war scenario. Nevertheless, it portrays a female soldier enduring the same training as a US Special Forces. Again, making soldiers out of our women. Don't get me wrong, women can be trained to fight and defend themselves if necessary, and even if in a war type scenario. Nevertheless, this masculinization of the women in our society is intended, it is programmed by the feminist movement, who are controlled by the powers of you know who control over us as Zionist elites. They control us, they program us, and they want practically our women also to take the roles of men in our society, at the same time portraying men as eternal losers, predominantly the whites in the white Western world. This is to do actually to, if you destroy the souls of the men in a racial group, you destroy practically the leadership in society. That is why they always portray the woman as the powerful figure that is intelligent, that wants to take the same role as men in society. That is why being independent is also propagated through our media and for a system, that all women should work first before actually settling down and having children. Whereas if you look at it from a biological standpoint or an ecological standpoint, you see that a racial folk body has men and women. They create practically the next generation by getting children, by creating family units and clans and larger entities, or even kingdoms or higher controlled entities, depending on how vast the control is. But if you look at it from an anthropological standpoint or biological standpoint, women have to get babies to make sure that the racial folk body or racial type keeps existing. And the men practically have actually the time to take care of their families. That is their natural part. Men are also stronger physically. And in G.I. Jane it is portrayed that a woman can endure the same process, Navy SEALs Special Forces training, than men. Men are physically stronger. I believe that they can endure more tension than women in that respect, and that it is not realistic to say that the women are as strong as men and are equal to men and can do all the things that men can do. You can train a woman to become a soldier to defend herself and take a weapon and fight, yes. But in a wartime scenario, you actually keep the women in the inside and protect them, because they are the future of your folk body. Even Hitler said this in a statement during his table talks. It's a book, you can Google it. That it does not matter if a folk body goes to war and the men go into battle and die off. The folk body can always regenerate. But if the women die, it means the end of the folk body, because the folk cannot regenerate itself. Even if 30 or 40% of the men die in a war or more, if there are enough women, the folk body will always regenerate itself. So this propaganda machine to make soldiers out of our women is part to destroy our race, actually, as a racial group. That is actually the hidden war against women in our society as well. Telling women that being dependent of any evil white male should be avoided at all costs. And men are told practically that settling down, having a family unit, having offspring to take care of, is the wrong way or a loser. Even in the X-Files, a man is portrayed as a conspiracy theorist who finds out the truth apparently, but is always countered by the more logical, scientific woman. The X-Files was a series in the 90s, apparently basing itself on real facts. It actually inflated and created incredible amounts of fair propaganda, the so-called UFO and metaphysical phenomenon. In this series, Fox Mulder is an intelligent young man who works for the CIA X-Files department and who practically finds out the truth in the series, but the female protagonist or antagonist in the series is always the logical, deductive, scientific woman that always says to Fox Mulder that what he says does not make sense, that can be explained using scientific means. Fox model portrays practically a so-called conspiracy theorist, and the woman is the cold, factual, scientific view on the truth, whereas he is practically also on track of the truth, but the paranormal, metaphysical, UFO phenomenon. Whereas normally it is the man or the men in our society that are logical and deductive and more a scientific approach. Here the woman is portrayed as scientifically deductive and logical, where women tend to be more emotional and more intuitive, what men lack. Again, in the series, I watched it personally. I was personally horrified and programmed by this series to fear anything of UFO, ET phenomenon or paranormal phenomenons. Well, what I wanted to say is that men and women are different and even think differently. So I personally watched the XFiles. I found it incredibly interesting back then because it portrayed a shadow government in contact with ET life forms, a hidden eugenics programs done by the shadow government, and lots more. But it was also horrifying because they made so much fear and pumped so much fear into this series, program your mind actually to fear any type of possible ET witness or UFO phenomenon that is out there. If you just look at the mainstream programming and to all these movies, you will see that there is misandry going on, telling also that the women should become independent and are better and are smarter than the men in our society, telling that women should actually take over the steer and undermining actually the men. There is a war against the men, and at the same time telling the women that they are the dominant male or gender in the society. Practically it's telling the males have nothing to say, the women everything. It's not even about males having authority over the women. But if you look at again from an anthropological standpoint or biological standpoint, the men, the race, depends on the women to procreate and survives, and it's practically the natural job of the male is to protect the women and offspring. That is why it is at the same time a war against the women, giving them roles that they shouldn't have actually. There's nothing wrong with being dependent if you can trust and love your partner, and the father is a good man, not totally brainwashed to feel like a loser in our society. For all this Hollywood massive programming, you feel that you're nothing. You believe that wealth and fame is all that there is. And you're constantly being dragged down. It's a constant brainwashing of your mind to make you feel less about yourself, to make you feel like a loser. Oh, I don't have the six-pack, I don't have the perfect body, so I can't get the top models. There's a constant propaganda war going against your mind, and predominantly whites. Although, in all these series, all these men are depicted as dumb, retards, losers. The white men created practically most technology on this planet. They are the most intelligent in that respect. I'm not saying that other races did not contribute to the technologies, no. But if you look at the evidence and look at the reality, that is a fact. But if you look at Hollywood, white men are the dumbest and most retarded. Dumb and Dumber. I laughed at some of those movies, but Harold and Kumar, that was no longer funny. It's misandry compared with anti-white male hatred. This was my video on misandry. I could go on and on. Just define misandry. Every second movie is about violence, where men kill each other off. That's also misandry. It's killing men off. Killing men. And then see how many white soldiers are in combat situations. And then how many women join the men in combat of a race. The most valuable assets of a race is its women and children, because they bring forth the new generation. If they are not protected practically and are used in combat situations, the race will die off. That is why the Third Reich, under the hand of Hitler, did not allow women to fight, only at the very end, when there was no other way out. Where even 10-year-old children fought alongside their fathers to fight off the Russians and the Americans that wanted to destroy and annihilate the Germans in 1944-1945. Anyhow, the video is quite long. Misandry is all around us, but it has become a normality, this male bashing. The same with bashing the Germans in all respects, and it's past. If you know the truth on that, you know it's incredible, yeah? The propaganda keeps going on and on and on. Anti-German hatred is programmed into the minds of billions. At the same, it's anti-white hatred against the white male, and then males in general. Yeah, I'm not going to say it's only whites, but then, yeah. And who rules over Hollywood? Just Google that. What I wanted to add is that men and women are different and hence have different roles in society. It is not about discrimination or suppressing of any gender, but the discrimination of our men in our society practically, undermining practically their natural role in society, is destroying our people. It is part of their social engineering plans to destroy the family units in the white Western world, and they have succeeded already a lot. Cheers.